consumers to know their rights.
Yes, the
And
time
that's
has
why we
come.
are here. And
The
we are
time
here for
has
you.
come.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good day, viewers. You're welcome to today's episode of The Law, the Woman, and Christianity. My name is Omojola Omowomi Pascaline, and I'm with Barrister Udo Umo Medara. Today we'll be talking about the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act of Nigeria. This act basically deals with the consumer's rights, dealings between organizations, between corporations, between industries, so that they have fair dealings between each other, and then how to enforce the rights of consumers. Everybody is a consumer. I am a consumer. Barrister Medara is a consumer. Dangote is a consumer. The president is a consumer. One way or the other, we take in finished goods. So now, as a consumer, you have rights. There are some things that you might not be aware of, and today, thank God for the opportunity given by this episode of The Law, the Woman, and Christianity. You'll be finding out about those things today, and some of those rights will be discussed extensively. And if you do have questions, please comment. I'll read it. And if you do have further contributions that might not be questions, it's very well welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. So, Barrister Medara, you're welcome to this episode of The Lord, the Woman, and Christianity.
Thank you, Barrister Maumi.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, Barrister Medara. So today we'll be talking about the Fccpa. Is there any general discourse you have about it that haven't been mentioned yet?
Nothing really. Just that the Fccpa was enacted in 2020 in response to the need to protect consumers. In the consumer market, in consumer transactions, suppliers, manufacturers, they care more about profit making, about expanding their business, about filling their pockets, rather than the interests of the consumers. You know, many suppliers, they will bring in goods that are hazardous to the health of the consumers. They also come up with terms and conditions that the consumers will have no option than to subscribe to. So in consumer transactions, the consumers are at a disadvantaged position. So the Fccpa was enacted in response to the sufferings of the consumers, to protect the consumers from all these ravaging sellers, sellers, retailers, manufacturers. The Fccpa calls them undertaking. Okay. So that's primarily what this is about. Though it also have anti-competition laws too that regulates monopoly and all that. Okay. But since our focus is on consumer transactions, I will just stick to that one.
Yes, please. Our focus today is on consumers and consumers' rights and consumers' right enforcement of consumers' rights. So today, like you said, consumers' rights. Who are the consumers? Who does the law, the act, recognize as consumers?
The act recognizes a person who buys a goods or an article for the purpose of final consumption as a consumer. If a person buys a goods or an article for the purpose of producing other goods, that person is not regarded as a consumer under the Fccpa. For instance, where Dangote refineries buys crude oil from NNPC Limited or from international oil companies for the purpose of refining to get petrol, to get diesel, fuel, jet fuel and all that for the purpose of selling out, the Dangote refinery is not regarded as a consumer in that respect.
Because it's not for final consumption.
And also a consumer is a person that contracts the service provider to get
this particular service
from
done.
The service provider.
So it does not necessarily have to do with consumption of what you take in or what you wear. It might include services as well. For instance, fixing of lights.
Yes.
Fixing of lights.
Like we are you use I'm sure you have MTN line.
Yes.
MTN is the service provider while you are the final consumer because they are running services to you.
Thank you very much.
You are paying them with a recharge card.
Thank you very much. That is very clear, I believe. And if it's not clear, please feel free to ask, as said earlier. So now the rights of these consumers under the Act. Yes.
Under the Fccpa, the rights of a consumer are carefully listed, explained in details, and they are quite much. Like Barrister Oni, you just said. Let's just stick to the ones that people are not generally aware of. One of them is right to get information about second-hand or reconditioned goods. A second-hand or reconditioned good is a goods that the seller had already used, or probably another person was using it, and then he buys it or for the purpose of reselling to another person. It's not a brand new.
It's not a brand new.
So a seller should not come and bring a second-hand goods and then refurbish it, rebrand it, and then present it as a brand new.
Actually, I've fallen for one of those things before. I was trying the first phone I ever bought in my life. I remember that phone. Then it was Techno Spark 1 or something like that. This was I saved up money to buy a phone for myself to use, and I went there. It was red. The back of the phone was red. Very beautiful phone. Turned out to be refurbished. I didn't enjoy that phone for one day.
You see, that is some of the challenges.
One day I didn't enjoy the phone, and it was packaged. You would think it was a new phone, and they didn't mention it. I didn't know there was anything called refurbished at the time. It was after a while that this phone kept stressing me. I took it to this repairer, that repairer, today screen, tomorrow charging point, today, different problems from that phone. After a while, they had to tell me that this phone that I bought, I didn't buy it new. I was arguing. I bought this phone new. It was Kinecon. I have receipt. It turned out that I bought a refurbished phone. The phone didn't use up to a year. I had to let it go because the stress was not just worth it. I'd rather stay without phone.
You see, what happened there was that the seller infringed on your right to get information about the state of the goods. If you had that information, probably you wouldn't have bought that.
I wouldn't have bought. I bought it at the price of new.
If you had bought it, you would have had prepared your mind psychologically, emotionally to deal with the challenge that comes with second-hand.
I bought it at the price of a new product. It was really heartbreaking. Honestly, up to now, it still pains me.
I will report to the Fccpa, the Federal Consumer Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. They are charged with the responsibility to enforce the provision of Fccpa.
All right. So then, our consumers, we have the rights to information. We should know. We should know what we are buying.
Yes. There is another right that I believe is very pertinent. Introduced, I think, under Section 127 of the Fccpa. Is right against unfair, unjust, and unreasonable contractual terms. I stated earlier that many times when consumers go to buy goods, even in online stores and even on-site stores, they tend to meet conditions there and are not given the room to negotiate the terms and conditions. So most of these suppliers, sellers, retailers, manufacturers, they tend to include terms and conditions that are so stringent to the disadvantage of the consumers and to their own advantage. So the Fccpa frowns at such a thing. So where a contractual term, for instance, the price is so high that, let's say, the average price of a basket of tomato in the market, if it is 2,000 naira, and then the supplier is selling his at 10,000 naira, probably because he's the only one selling tomato at within that vicinity. Region. Because he has no competition, the Fccpa frowns at things like that. Unfair, unjust, and unreasonable contractual terms. Like maybe telling the consumer that I will sell this good for you on one condition. If it spoils, you must always bring it back to me to repair it for you. You cannot take it to another repairer. Those are unjust contractual terms, and the Fccpa frowns at them.
Okay. So another right that I want us to mention today is display of prices. As consumers, we have the right to see what we are like, the price of what we are buying.
Exactly.
You go to all the supermarkets, you check their prices on the they put it either on the product or on one particular part of the shelf that is used. The price there must be the price of what you are buying, what you are paying for. Again, I've been involved in something like that before. This even happened recently.
Recently too.
Very recently.
I have.
I saw the price there. I saw this thing online on Jumia, and the price on Jumia was more. It was about 12,000 naira on Jumia. And then I got to this supermarket somewhere in Lagos, and then I saw the price there. It was 10,000 naira plus. If you see how happy I was, and then I paid for it. Before, I didn't used to check the invoice that comes out when you pay for a product at supermarket. But this particular time, the debit alert I got was just somehow. So on the way back, I was just checking this thing, and I realized that the price of that product was 14,000 plus. Like, it was not even the price I saw at Jumia.
Yeah, that is the height of
no. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I should have just used the product safe. Thank God the thing works.
Otherwise, you would have been disappointed.
I would have.
Regardless of the effectiveness of the product, it was unfair.
It was unfair to me. It was unfair to me.
The proper price on the shelf.
Yes. So these are things that happen. Everybody, one way or the other, you are being a victim of this. One way or the other, we are falling in such a condition where you just be dumbfounded. If I had seen it on time, maybe I would have told them that I'm not buying again. Please carry your products, give me back my money. Unfortunately, I saw it when I was going back, and I don't reside in Lagos, so therefore there was nothing I could do at the time. It was already gone. I already bought it. So, but I could have reported them if I wanted to. That is what we are discussing today. Sometimes you don't have to keep quiet. Don't keep quiet. When you see something, you say something and you
do something.
Yes. Yes. So that's it for that one. Any other rights?
There's a right that rights to fair dealings. Though fair dealing may be confused with unjust, unfair, and unreasonable contractual terms, but the Act distinguishes them. Right to fair dealing encapsulates that a consumer should not be forced, should not be coerced, should not be misrepresented, or information should not be represented to him for the purpose of making him to subscribe to a service or to buy a particular goods. Just like saying maybe going to a hospital. Let's say someone's child is sick, he takes his child to the hospital, and the doctors, rather than telling the man the proper diagnosis of the illness, maybe malaria, he then begin to tell it is hypertension, it is this, so that the man will spend more money, because of course treatment for hypertension is more expensive than treatment for malaria, typhoid.
All those things are very, very wicked. It's even beyond unfair. It's just evil.
There are people that do such things.
It's just evil. You don't
even in this law profession.
Somebody's health, food. There's some things you just don't joke with. It's somebody's life, for goodness sakes. It's very unfair.
It's not proper. Some consumers have that right, and they can take it up with this supplier.
Yes, we have definitely learned something today, if not all. And if you want to find out more about more of those rights, because there are more, definitely you can just visit your Fccpa from section 114. Section 114 to about 138.
133.
To about 133 of the Fccpa. That is it. It lists out all those rights for you, and I promise you, you have mouth next time.
It's very important about viewers understand this. There is a right against limiting terms or exclusion clauses.
Okay.
Now, manufacturers, sellers, called undertakings under the Fccpa, they have been using these limiting terms and exclusion clauses to exempt themselves from liability where they fail to perform their own side of the contract.
Yeah.
You understand? For instance, imagine buying a ticket to take a flight from Ekiti State to Abuja, and then on that ticket it is written there that should, in case the flight is delayed, that the airline will not be held responsible.
Why not?
Whereas it is written there that the flight will take off by 2 p.m. You bought a 2 p.m. Flight ticket. You understand?
Be there since like maybe 11.
You
and
go there.
By 9 p.m. you're still there.
Stay there till, like you just said, 9 p.m. And probably the purpose for which you were going to Abuja for had elapsed. You've lost money if it was for a business deal. If it is for health reasons, your health is deteriorating.
And they still won't take responsibility.
And they will tell you they will not be held liable. So the Fccpa frowns at that. So exclusion clauses or limiting terms are exempted or are barred by the Fccpa. No undertaking can rely on it. If you go to court, definitely you have a good cause of action and you are going to win.
Did you hear that? I believe that's a good news for everybody, all of us. That is good news. All those cars parked at owner's risk, I don't understand why they have a car park. You have securities. At the same time, will I have to go and employ my own personal security to watch my car in a hotel?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense. So, like you said, they are bad. You have a right against such. So that brings us to the end of today's episode of The Law, the Woman, and Christianity. And I hope you really enjoyed this section and you learned a lot from this section. And like we said, you can please feel free to check back if you have other areas that are not so clear to you. Then it doesn't end here. It's going to continue. The next episode will be continuing under the Fccpa, the Federal Competitions Consumer Protection Act of Nigeria. We're going to be talking about price control, price fixing. This basically deals with...
There are cases whereby unions come together to fix prices of goods and services that their members deal in. So and they tend to want to impose it even on other persons.
By force. If you don't comply, they will close down your shops.
Fixing by sellers, by suppliers, by manufacturers, otherwise called undertakings under the Fccpa. So the Fccpa specifically bars that.
So this is part of what we'll be discussing next time. I know you want to hear about it for hairdressers, people that have unions, those barbers union, carpenters union, truck drivers,
Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. They come together
and
to fix prices.
And then if you don't agree with
it,
it, maybe your conscience tells you that this price is just it's very ridiculous, but you don't have any option but to obey. So please listen in and stay with us till. Thank you very much for staying till the end, to this time. I really appreciate you. Please comment. I really want to hear back from you. Like my video, share so that others can as well learn what you have learned today, and then subscribe. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. By Samidara, you will still see him in the next videos to come. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we are very grateful to have you.
Thank you for having me here. It's a privilege. It's an honor. I believe the time has come for consumers to know their rights.
Yes, the time
and that's
has
why
come.
we are here. And
The
we are
time
here
has
for you.
come. Till we meet again. Say bye.
Bye.